Canadian Jewish Literary Award for Biography goes to Hernan Tesler-Mabé for Mahler's Forgotten Conductor, Heinz Unger, and his Search for Jewish Meaning, 1895 to 1965. The Berlin-born orchestral conductor, Heinz Unger, devoted his life to the music of Gustav Mahler. In 1948, Unger settled in Canada and was celebrated for his Mahler interpretations with the Toronto Symphony Orchestra, the Promenade Symphony Orchestra, and most significantly, the CBC Symphony Orchestra. This book explores the way a German Jewish musician understood and expressed his dual identity by way of his allegiance to music and how Jewish cultural values from Europe manifested themselves in Canada. Hernan Tesler-Mabe teaches history at the University of Ottawa. This book is an exploration of the relationship between culture and history. For Professor Tesler-Mabé, it was obviously a labor of love, and it brings to life a significant cultural figure who has been somewhat forgotten and neglected. Professor Tesler-Mabé.
Thank you, Michael. I would like to begin by thanking the adjudicators of the Canadian Jewish Literary Award for selecting my book, Mahler's Forgotten Conductor, Heinz Unger, and his Search for Jewish Meaning, 1895 to 1965, as the best biography of the year. In accepting this award, I would also like to commence by sharing with you how this all began, how this process began for me. As a graduate student studying Jewish culture and identity many years ago, I first came across Heinz Unger's name in a finding aid at Library and Archives Canada in their music division. In reading his brief biographical entry, I asked myself, an avowed lover of Gustav Mahler's music, how I had never heard of this musician who had done so much to advance Mahler's cause in Canada and beyond. Once I began exploring his fauns, in fact that had never been studied by anyone before, I realized that I had stumbled upon something profound. Here was a musician who not only had spent the majority of his life performing Gustav Mahler's music, but a person who, in doing so, problematized our understanding of Jewish identity across the diaspora. Here indeed was a name that barely resonated any longer, and a life whose achievements and whose significance on so many levels, that is on the Jewish, on the Canadian, on the diasporic, on the musical, on the Mahlerian, to name but the main ones, had been completely forgotten. I knew then that here lay a story not only worthy of, but urgently requiring exhumation. For the rest of my graduate years, and then in the years that followed, I considered it my duty to bring Heinz Unger back to life. I am delighted that I have done so, and I'm now able to share his story and its complex meaning with you all. I hope that the readers of my book will appreciate the many ways in which Jewish identity is created and preserved, and will end with a deeper understanding of Heinz Unger's multifaceted identity, as well as perhaps their own identities. Now, I could, of course, there's no way I could have gotten through all this without the help of a great many others. So I'd like to, of course, end this by thanking those who helped me along the way over these many years. Thank you first to Pierre Anctil, who was my supervisor during my doctoral studies in history. Also, I'd like to thank my colleagues in the history department at the University of Ottawa for their collegiality and support, and to the Ontario Graduate Scholarship for the support that they provided me in the early years of my research. I also want to thank Len Husband at the University of Toronto Press, who spent years with me and in that time became a dear friend as we refined this manuscript. Also to the varied Jewish Canadian Studies program at the University of Ottawa for its financial support. To my family, both the Tesler-Mabés and the Kemenis alike, who supported me in more ways than I can even begin to elucidate here. And to my wife, Mandy, who listened to me talk through my ideas, read countless drafts, and put up with all sorts of headaches as I fretted over this manuscript's fate. Finally, I should take this opportunity to express my gratitude for the work that Heinz Unger himself did in his life and acknowledge the challenges that he confronted and overcame in his service of Gustav Mahler and his music. I only wish that his daughter Ines Johnston, with whom I spent many hours speaking about her father, could also be with us to share this honor. Thank you very much.